Good day, students. Today we are looking at some calculations on vectors. Calculations on vectors. Let's look at this question. The coordinates of vertices of a parallelogram ABCD are coordinate A is what? 2 and minus 1. That means the value for x here is 2, y is minus 1, and coordinate B when x is 1, y is 2. Coordinate C when x is 4, y is 5. And coordinate D, we don't know the value of x and y. Then A, find the vectors AB, CD, and S determine x and y. Then B, calculate the magnitude of AD. C, express AD in the form k theta, where k is the magnitude and theta is the bearing. Now, first of all, we are given that the coordinate of A is when x is 2, y is minus 1. You can write the vector like this also. The one on top represent x, this one represent y. When x is 2, y is minus 1. Then we have the coordinate B is when x is 1, y is 2. You can also write the vector this way, 1, 2. Then we have coordinate C when x is 4, y is what? 5. And you can write the vector as this, 4, 5. And coordinate D, we don't know the value of x and y. Now the question says we should look for AB. First of all, to look for AB. Now you realize that the coordinate of A is 2 and minus 1. When x is 2, y is minus 1. And the coordinate of B is what? 1 and what? 2. So you are going to take the coordinate of A to be your x1 and y1. So 2 represent your x1, minus 1 represent your y1. Then this coordinate of B, which is x is 1 when y is 0, when y is 2. So you use this to represent x2. So 1 represent x2, then 2 represent y2. So to now look for the vector AB, so it will now be what? It will be x2 minus x1, y2 minus y1. So the value for your x2 is what? 1 minus the value for your x1 is what? 2. Then y2 is what? 2 minus y1 is what? Minus 1. So you have 1 minus 2 and 2 minus 1. 1 minus 2 will give us minus 1. This minus times minus will give us plus. So 2 plus 1 will give us 3. So that means the vector AB is minus 1, nx is minus 1, y is what? 3. That is the vector AB. Now, from the information in the question, we were told that ABCD is a parallelogram. If this is a parallelogram, and we are told that what? This AB, this line, this AB is parallel to DC. For us to have a parallelogram, the opposite sides of the parallelogram are equal and parallel. So now, you realize that what? Since this one and this one are a parallelogram, then you realize that if they are parallelogram, this side AB should be equal to DC, because they are opposite sides of a parallelogram, and that means they have to be equal. So if the vector AB is minus 1, 3, therefore the vector DC, because if you follow this arrangement, AB, DC, you follow the arrangement AB, DC. So that means the vector AB should be equal to vector DC. So this should also give you what? -1 and 3. Now, in the question tells us to look for AB. We have done that. Then CD, not DC. For us to look for CD, now that means we need to change the direction of this vector to move in the opposite side. So that means we need to make C. We want to get CD. For us to get CD will be the negation of the vector DC. You see, so that means the direction of CD will now be the negation of DC. So now your DC is -1, 3. When x is -1, y is 3. So your CD is -1, 3. So therefore you now multiply it by what? Minus. So that means minus. CD is -1 and 3. So minus times minus will give us +1. Then minus times +3 will give us -3. So our CD will now be what? 1 and -3. You can see that this sign change to the opposite sign. So DC and CD are in opposition to the other. So that means what you do is to multiply the vector DC by -1 to be able to get CD from that. Now, in the question, we are told to determine the value for x and y. And you know that we've said that our AB, our DC is equal to AB. DC is equal to AB. Now, our the coordinate of D we are not given, which is x and y. The coordinate of C is 4 and 5. Now, for us to be able to get DC, now you realize that since we are talking of DC, that D should come first before C. So that means this x is taken to be our x1, and this y is taken to be our y1. Likewise, this C, the one top here, is taken to be our x2. This 5 is taken to be our y2. So according to this, we have our vector DC should be equal to x2 minus x1 and y2 minus y1. Our x2 is 4 minus our x1 is x. Then our y2 is 5 minus our y1 is y. So that means we've got it as a compound number like this: 4 minus x to be and 5 minus y to be DC. Now, since we know that our DC is equal to -1 and 3, so what we have to do is to equate. So that means our DC, which is 4 minus x and 5 minus y, should be equal to AB. Our DC is equal to AB. So we've taken this to be our DC. So you have 4 minus x and 5 minus y is equal to the AB is -1 and 3. So what you do is this: you equate the x component and you equate the y component. So the x component, 4 minus x, 4 minus x is equal to minus this one. So this one and this one are just component. 4 minus x is equal to -1. If I bring this 4 to this side, now I have minus x is equal to -1 minus this plus here. When it comes to now turn to -4. So you have minus x is equal to -1 minus 4 will give us -5. So when you multiply both sides by -1, the value for your x will be is equal to 5. So x should be equal to 5. To get the corresponding value for y, you realize that your 5 minus y will be equal to 3. So 5 minus y is equal to 3. Bring this 5 to this other side. This is plus 5 here. When it comes here, now turn to minus 5. So that means minus y is equal to 3 minus 5. So now from there, you realize that what? 3 minus 5 will give you minus 2. So to get y, you divide both sides by minus 1. So that your y will now be equal to minus 2 divided by minus 1 will give us 2. So the coordinate of D is what? X is what? 5 and y is 2. So when x is 5, y is 2. And the coordinate of our A is when x is 2, y is minus 1. That's 2 minus 1. The question says that we should look for the magnitude of AD. So since A is coming first and D is next, AD. So the coordinate of A will be our x1, y1, and the coordinate of B will be our x2, y2. So to get AD, so it means that if you have x2 minus x1, y2 minus y1, so our x2 here is 5 minus s1 minus 2. Then y2 is 2 minus 1. So we have 5 minus 2 is 3. Minus times minus here will give you plus. 2 plus 1 will give us 3. So this is the vector AD. So first of all, we need to get the value for our vector AD. After then, we are now going to look for the magnitude. So to look for the magnitude AD, so that means it will now be x component square plus y component square, then the root. So when you look at this vector, 3 is the x component here, 3 is also the y component. Substitute x for 3 and y for 3. So when you substitute x for 3, y for 3, 3 square will give you 9 plus 3 square is what? 9. Then look for the root. 9 plus 9 will give us 18. So that means our 18, you having root 18. So root of 18 is what? So if you break this down, you having 9 times 2. You can look for the root of 9, which is what? 3, then root 2. So the magnitude of the vector AD is 3 root 2. From there, we want to get the value. The question says C. Express AD in the form K theta, where K is the magnitude and theta the direction. So we are told to look for the angle AD. That means if this is line AD, so this one will give us the angle to the horizontal. So you can take your tan alpha to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So now what is your tan alpha? Our y2 will be equal to 5. So our y2 is 5 minus, so you have the value for your y2 to be 2 minus our y1 is minus 1, then your x2 is 5, then your x1 is 2. Substitute here. So you have minus times minus to give us plus. 2 plus 1 will give us 3 over 5 minus 2 will give us 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So that means to get theta alpha here, so that alpha will be equal to arctan of 1. So the arctan of 1 will be 45 degrees. So now this angle 45 degree is the value of this angle, this AD to the horizontal. So but the question says we should look for the bearing. Bearing will be from this north pole up to this line. So if that is the case, this whole angle we are going to subtract this whole 45 from this whole angle, which is 90. So that means we'll be having 90 minus 45 degrees, which is equal to 45. So to write this in form of a bearing, you write it in 3 figures. That means 0.45 degrees. So if you are now writing the value of k and theta, our k, which is a magnitude, is 3√2, and our theta, which is the bearing, is what? 45 degrees. So for the work practice, 1, the coordinate of the vertices of a parallelogram wxy are w is -1 and 0, x is 1 and 2, z is 2 and -2, and y is x and y. Find the vectors wx and zy, and hence determine x and y. Then B part of the questions. Calculate the magnitude of zy. C. Express zy in the form k theta, where k is the magnitude and theta is the bearing. Then number 2, the coordinates of the vertices A, B, C, D of a parallelogram are: coordinate of A, we have -2, -1 and -2. That of B is for 4 and 0. C is for 6 and 4. And D is what? X and Y. Then A, find the vectors AB, CD, and hence determine X and Y. Then B, calculate the magnitude of AD. C, express AD in the form k theta, where k is the magnitude and theta the bearing. Then number 3, the coordinates of the vertices of a parallelogram wxyz are: w is -1, when x is -1, y is 4, x is 1 and 8, y is 4, 6, and z is xy. Then you are now told A, find the vectors wx and zy, and hence determine xy. Then B, calculate the magnitude of zy. C, express zy in the form k theta, where k is the magnitude and theta the bearing. Please ensure you like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Thank you.